On the latest edition of our Cubs Recap podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcasts. I have a brand new lineup for Craig Counsel. Gordon and I talk about his travels that took him to the Cleveland Guardians, honoring the 2016 World Series runners-up.
Losers.
Got honored. We get into all of it, plus Joe Madden. We have thoughts on him and thoughts on the struggling Chicago National League ball club known as the Cubs. Welcome into the latest edition of our Cubs Recap podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcast. That's my partner, Gordon Wittenmeyer. I'm David Kaplan. Cubs mired in a little difficulty a week ago. We are talking about a team that had two 10-game win streaks and a team that was rated number one in the MLB Power Rankings. And since then,
by you,
MLB.com Power Rankings. Thank you. They lose 2 of 3 in Texas. They lose 2 of 3 in Atlanta. They lose 2 of 3 to the White Sox, and then they come home and get the ever-living crap beaten out of them by Brandon Sproat, Pat Murphy, and the Milwaukee Brewers. And your favorite manager around, Craig Counsel, decides at 5-0 with 2 men on and Imanaga on fumes at almost 80 pitches.
And almost as many home runs.
And Bowers hits one off the video board. 8-0. Thanks for coming. Craig had an awful night.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of your guy, Craig, I'm just looking here at my X account, Twitter, and your nice little lineup suggestion for him, because apparently this is the week he's no longer a top 3 or top 5 manager in baseball. This is the week he sucks, right? It must be an odd number week because this is the week he sucks. Is that the deal?
Suck is a hard word for me to
hey, before we started this podcast, it sounded a lot worse than that coming out of your mouth. It sounded almost PCA-ish.
Yeah, like, why don't you say what you said on the aeroplane,
right.
Stoney? Remember Harry said that to him? Yeah. Stoney said Harry was trying to make him look bad, and he had said, tell me about all these young pitchers the Cubs have. What do you think of them? And Stoney had said, apparently on the airplane and at dinner, these guys are terrible. None of these guys are going to make it. Harry said, tell me about all this young pitching here that the Cubs have. And Stoney said, well, they need seasoning, Harry. They've got big arms. And he said, why don't you say what you said on the aeroplane? Yeah. And it was that they stink.
I love it at your show on ESPN. Hoodie brings that up all the time.
We use that line all the time. So, look, Craig is a solid baseball man, but I think he's vastly overrated sometimes when it comes to his strategy. I did not understand at 5-0 against the Brewers, and you have 2 men on in the 5th inning, and your pitcher clearly does not have it. 2 men on, Bowers up, and here's an 80-mile-an-hour whatever, bam, off the video board. Now the game's over.
You know, Cap, I understand it. I mean, it's not pleasant. You're not going to like it, but I certainly understand it. Have you seen the bullpen?
Gordon, I wouldn't have cared if they used you.
Well, this is real life, right? He's out there. This is a real life decision with some of these guys in a major league game. I mean, he's got to make a call. He's got to hope that his guy can get through this, and he doesn't have to just completely kill the guys out. Plus, who knows what the guy he brings in from the pen is going to do in that inning and at that moment.
Well, guess what? 1 pitch later, the next pitch, the guy hit off the video board.
Dude,
you know what Craig did as that ball hit the video board? He took Imanaga out. So if you're willing to take him out 1 pitch later, then why not take him out when he's getting the ever-living shit beaten out of him?
You act like you've never seen a big league game before or how a manager operates. Obviously, he weighed his options on that one last batter and what the chances of this guy as a matchup would do against that guy. That's all that was. And whether that made more sense to try to let him get through that or bring the next guy in now. Look, 6-1, half dozen the other, the way this team's going right now.
Look, but at 5-0, you go, wind's howling out. Maybe got a shot. You did score 3 in the next inning.
Yeah, but the other guy has been pitching well. So you've already gone through your order and seen this guy. And, he's keeping the ball. He's keeping the ball in the yard so far. Yes, things can change, but 5-0 is not a reason to double down and try to pitch the guys that are going to win you what Madden used to call the 0 and ahead guys. He's going to bring in the closest thing he's got to mop up in a situation like that, or just a one batter, 2 batter matchup.
Mop up guys would have been fine, and they did use Ethan Roberts.
Well, that's in retrospect. I mean,
no, it's not retrospect, Gordon. I'm sitting there watching the game while my wife's baking these delicious cookies, and I said, all right, if you can get out of this one, I'll eat a cookie. Bam! Off the video board.
So what, you eat 3 cookies?
I got no cookies. And my wife said, okay, I could see from over here at the oven. That pitcher doesn't have it tonight. Right. Hey, Craig, next time, my cell phone's always on. I sent you a lineup for today, Craig. You can keep Ian Happ out of the 4-hole,
The lineup's
please.
Not the issue. The pitching staff's the issue.
The lineup's not an issue.
They've given up 7 runs a game the last 4 games.
Do you know what Ian Happ is batting with men in scoring position? $160. Do you know what he's done?
The problem with this team is that their pitching staff is in tatters, even when they were going good in recent weeks. I mean, they barely beat the Reds with those 3. They could have lost that series. 3 of them were walk-offs. They trailed in the 8th or 9th inning 3 games in a row in that series. They could have gone through, and then what would their record look like? That's how much of a tightrope they've been walking, even when it's looked good. We've been talking about this for a long time, Cap, that at some point all these pitching injuries were going to come home to roost, that they couldn't sustain. That's what's happening. And unless Shota gives you the great effort every time out, or Tyone, who's getting his, what's knocked off every time he pitches, then you're going to have this. And the bullpen's in no better shape right now. So, I mean, good luck even getting a lead to your closer who's off the IL.
Ian Happ with men in scoring position, $151. Ian Happ with men on base, $179. Ian Happ with men in scoring position at 2 out, $208. Ian Happ with bases loaded, 0, 0, 0. 0 for 11. What are we doing? Nice kid, makes a hell of a cup of coffee. Look, right now, he can't freaking get a hit. He guys looks awful at the plate.
Bregman's starting to come around a little bit. There's some guys in that lineup. Nico's going to be fine. He's as consistent as any of them are. Happ has been streaky his whole career. He'll carry the team at some point.
So you're going to leave him sit there in the 4-hole?
Well, you can shuffle it all you want, but that ain't going to fix it when you're giving up 8-9 runs a game. It ain't going to matter.
Right. But if your manager would have taken out an obviously struggling pitcher, a pitch before, maybe we're in a 5-3 game and you're battling in there.
In honor of the late great Ted Turner, who just passed last week.
We shared a birthday.
Oh, really? Oh, then this is even more appropriate. We gotta let you manage a damn game. Let's see what happens.
Well, I put the lineup together for Craig tonight, and I tweeted at him, "Good morning, Craig. I hope you had a good night's sleep. And now grab a cup of coffee and find a way to win a baseball game." Ben Braun against Jacob Mizorowski.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay. Second base leading off.
Oh, God, Nico here we go.
He's 2 for 6 lifetime against Mizorowski. Mm-hmm. Batting second, Bush, 2 for 5 with a double and 3 RBIs. Third, Seiya Suzuki, and he's been no piece of work with men in scoring position, but I don't have a lot. Seiya, 2 for 7 with a homer and a walk. Third base, Alex Bregman. He's never faced Miz. Good luck. Then batting, Moises Ballesteros. He's also never faced him. Then catching, Carson Kelly, 1 for 7. PCA, 0 for 7 with 5 Ks. Ian Happ in the 8-hole, 1 for 8 with an RBI. And Swanson 0 for 4 with 2 doubles. Guess what I'm telling you for your play of the day, Guff? You need some help anyway. Pick one of these guys here to go under their hit total. Probably a pretty safe freaking bet.
I don't even think you'll win money on that. The odds got to be just it's probably not even on the board.
I mean, I expect Ben Brown to throw the hell out of the ball again. But Mizorowski, that guy's a beast.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, they've already lost 3 series in a row. And if they lose another one of these next 2 games, it'll be 4 series. They didn't do that last year. You know, even when they've had some rough stretches last year, they lost 3 series in a row once last year. And we're sitting here talking since the start of this season about how much better this team was. And some of the way the schedule works for them, like last year when they opened the season, it was like this solid month to 5 weeks of just hellish tough teams. And they got off to a great start. They don't even have that this year. It's more, it's kind of more spread out. And here they are in this kind of a dip. Now, all this said, they go into the second game of that series against the Brewers with a half-game lead in the division. So they're still sitting in position where they've just got to try to tread water until they get some pitchers back. But that is a big ask. Matt Boyd, he's out for like another 5-6 weeks, whatever it is.
Month.
So he's got another month.
He was throwing in the outfield the other day and said, my knees never felt better.
Well, good for him. We'll see what that looks like when he comes back, and maybe it'll be a good thing. But there's no guarantee that Steele ever pitches again this year. And we were thinking he might be ready to go in a month. And obviously Horton's out. Cabrera got touched up a little bit the other day. You can't beat the friggin' White Sox. I mean, they hit, 31 home runs against you in 3 games or whatever it is.
I tried to tell people that's a pretty good White Sox team. They didn't want to listen.
So boy, you rewrite history better than Theo Epstein does.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, so they've got. Let me ask you this, Cap. I'm close to the Reds. I watch them every day. So they just picked up a guy because of their pitching deficits, Chris Paddock, who he's terrible. He sucked in Miami. He's a journeyman pitcher. He was winless, 763. They got rid of him. They released him.
Yeah.
The Reds picked him up and they got 5 good innings out of him the other day. And
Eric Lauer just went to the Dodgers, released by Toronto. Why did the Cubs pick him up?
See, these are the things I'm talking about. Is like you got nothing to lose picking up something. You're not giving up anything. The Reds didn't give up a player and they're paying the minimum for him. How come the Cubs aren't getting guys like this?
I don't know. I couldn't figure out when Eric Lauer hit the market. He's a lefty. Why they wouldn't go get him and see how he did. The one that blows me away, and I've asked Guff to reach out to Lucas Giolito.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Lucas Giolito not a Cub? It can't be money. If you tell me it's money, that is criminal.
Yeah,
I think he wanted to pitch in California. He's a California guy. And I've heard he said, it's a dream come true to pitch in San Diego. He's from Southern California, LA area.
Did he get a qualifying offer? I'm trying to remember.
He did not, I don't believe. And so I want to know, why did the Cubs not offer you Lucas? Like, really?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me.
I agree. And we thought coming in, it's fine. Coming in, you went out and got Cabrera. You had Steele coming back. You had Horton in the fold. It looked good. It looked deep with quality. And it all went away pretty fast. I mean, as soon as Horton goes down, you got to start thinking about just depth guys, just anybody. Take flyers and see if you can catch lightning in a bottle with somebody, even if it's for a month, even if it's for 3 starts. If you can, this is the treading water that I'm talking about. And I'm sure they're out there doing it, but I don't know why they're not getting, I'm not sure why they're not being more aggressive, because some other teams are. Just, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of, I was in Cleveland over the weekend, and I got to tell you what I saw there. It was friggin',
I know what you're going to tell
me. Was friggin' pathetic. But anyway, so Terry Francona was talking about that 2016 team he managed, and Andrew Miller. And he said that he got involved in the negotiations on that from the front office side, like they wanted his input, because there were analytics people in Cleveland saying that it wasn't worth the cost to go get him because Andrew Miller, because a relief pitcher only analytically gives you, according to the metrics, this much value. And
boy, I don't want those guys doing my analytics.
Right. So Tito gets in there and he says, if you guys go get this guy, we'll use the shit out of him. And he says, we did. And they did. It's right. It's why
the Cubs tried.
And the Cubs tried. The Cubs
to get him and Chapman.
The Yankees were shopping them both, and the Yankees wanted Schwarber. And if they would have thrown Schwarber into a deal and built a package around him, they might have got both.
Turned out they didn't need to.
Yeah, but imagine had they done it.
Oh my God! You go 8th inning, Andrew Miller, 9th inning, Chapman. See you later.
Oh, and they had plenty of other guys to handle all the other innings too. Oh my God. And then Cleveland wouldn't have even got there, which would have been interesting because I wonder, because Cleveland upset some teams along the way, and their pitching was in shambles by the time they got there.
Yeah. They were missing, who was it? Michael Brantley.
Oh yeah.
Their best outfielder.
I want to say, were they missing Carrasco too from their rotation? Bauer was hurt because he'd had a drone
accident.
Yeah.
Cut his finger.
And so Kluber was pitching on short rest every time, and he finally couldn't get it done the last time in Game 7.
Correct.
And so, but Francona managed the shit out of that series.
You saw all these guys at the reunion.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So they wait till Terry Francona comes back into Cleveland, which was this past weekend, and they celebrate the 2016 World Series. And they bring all these guys out. Andrew Miller.
Wait. They didn't win.
That's what I said. I'm talking to guys in the press box. I'm saying, hey, they know they didn't win this World Series, right? They gave out Rajay Davis bobbleheads where he's got his hand over his head running the bases after that home run.
Game-tying home run.
All he did was put off losing the series by a game or by an inning. And they celebrated that. They gave out T-shirts that had a big picture of a diamond-studded ring on it, and it looked like a World Series ring, except if you look really close, it said League Champions, and then it said underneath, Summer to Remember. And they brought out, and the guys, I'm telling you, like the first thing I thought of is I can't imagine a player that wants to be involved in this because all he remembers is we didn't win that friggin' thing.
The pain of losing.
And it was on their faces when they trotted him out, literally on a red carpet in the outfield. And they brought them all out to wave to the fans. And the fans, they showed faces of fans. They weren't going nuts. They were probably remembering all that heartbreak. You went through it when Davis hit the home run. Can you imagine if if Cleveland had come back to win that game?
I don't want to celebrate that.
How would you feel right now if they decided to bring that team back and celebrate how close they got, or that was one of the greatest teams in Cubs history? That's what they called this Guardians team. This is one of the greatest teams in franchise history. And, what a summer it was. Can you imagine being a Cubs fan if they had lost that World Series doing that here?
I can't.
I mean,
it's
like how many years did they celebrate the 69 club? How many, the 84 club went down in history until they finally won it. I mean, that's where it was. I felt sorry for the fans. I felt sorry for the players that they trotted out there.
No interest. Like if the Cubs, God forbid, had lost, I don't want to have a celebration and go, hey, Anthony, it's nice to see you. Chris, what was it like?
Hey, you remember that 9th inning strikeout you had?
Right.
Yeah, right? I mean, come on.
Hard pass. All right, back to modern day Cubs baseball. So Shota gets crushed by the Brewers. Yelich hits a homer. Bowers hits a homer. 9-3, they drop off at your doorstep. What is your take, what you saw? White Sox series, the Cubs-Braves series was Cubs won the last game. Your thoughts on what you've seen from the Chicago National League Ball Club?
Hey, man, it goes back to what we've been talking about already on this episode. The pitching, man, there is a big deficit in the pitching. And if they don't get a big starting pitching performance from any of three guys right now, then they're behind the eight ball.
They're in big trouble.
Like Edward Cabrera didn't go deep into that last start. Tyone got just crushed.
5 home runs in the game, a career
The dude has given up 20 home runs already. That's crazy. And then you get Shota, who's sometimes looks brilliant, sometimes looks like last night. And he's got to look closer to brilliant more often if you're going to have a chance to tread water. Now, we'll see what Ben Brown does. Ben Brown's still inexperienced enough that maybe he's got a chance to sort of grow. Maybe there's upside there, and there's a ceiling to reach even in the short term. That's what you got to kind of hope for. But the pen is still suffering from some injuries and some performance issues too. So there's that. I mean, you kind of like where you're at if you can get a lead late enough. I mean, we saw that in that Cincinnati series at home, right? We saw it was close. It was a 1-run game late, 1-run game. You score late, and you can finish it. But innings 5 to 7 or 8, boy, that's dicey right now. If you don't score a bunch of runs and your starter doesn't give you innings.
So let's go through the lineup that I constructed.
Oh Jesus, you and your damn lineup.
Posted.
Look, man, they're going to be fine.
Mr. Counsel.
Yeah. Well,
okay. Fine. Do you agree with me on this lineup that you have got to get Ian Happ out of the cleanup spot?
No,
you're leaving him there.
You can move him around. I don't have any issues with that. I'm one of these guys that once told Madden was getting questions every single damn day about his lineup because he was switching guys all the time.
What did he say about it?
What I said to him was, I started to ask a question, and I said, and he'd already had 4 lineup questions, and I said, I don't give a rat's ass about the lineup. Here's what I want to know, and I asked him about something entirely different, and that's how I feel about it on a day-to-day basis. The lineup is not that big a friggin' deal. Like if you're going to play Ian Happ, if you bat him 4th or if you bat him 8th or 9th, it makes the difference of 1 at bat in the game, maybe. Like if he's batting 1st or 2nd, it's going to definitely make a difference of 1 at bat in the game. But do you want him in the lineup? Do you want him in the lineup? Because I want him in the lineup. I want him in the lineup because he's more or less going to catch the ball. And I like that at some point he's going to get hot because his track record tells me that that's going to happen. And so, Dansby Swanson's batting 9th, $177 million number 9 hitter. Fine, whatever. He's a Gold Glove shortstop. I want him in the lineup. Nico, obviously. PCA, struggling. I want him in the lineup. He's going to catch everything except, the ball in, when he gets all ticked off at the lady in center field. But he's going to mostly catch everything. So I want him in the lineup. Say is doing well enough. I want him in the lineup. The catchers are the catchers. They're fine. They produce for the most part. We can go down the list here. I want Michael Bush in the lineup. You put him in whatever damn order you want. I don't think it's going to make a damn bit of difference, Cap.
Completely disagree with you. I can't have Ian Happ continually. Again,
what if you got him in a 8-hole and that's when he goes off for 2 homers, a double, and a 4-hit game?
Move him back up.
Okay. He's going to do that. I mean, that's what he does.
So in your world, I just let this guy sit there in the 4-hole and strike out, ground out.
No, I will look at the matchups, which because I'm a crappy manager, because I manage the Chicago Cubs, I'm going to get it from the analytics department. And so I'll get the matchups, and then I'll get like who's going well right now. A little bit of that's eye test, but just kind of like who do I like? Who's swinging a bat right now? Who do I think can handle the fastball from this guy tonight? And then maybe I'll adjust, but I'm not going to adjust radically. I mean, my lineup's going to be my lineup. I mean, there's only 13 friggin' hitters on the team, and 9 of them are going to be in your lineup. And most of them catch the ball, so they're going to be there. And a lot of them get paid. They're going to be in there. So now it's just, it's 4 or 6.
Madden, fantasy baseball is one thing. Reality is something else. I'm all into the numbers. Sometimes the guys want to go more into fantasy baseball than real baseball. You cannot give me a mathematical anything that convinced me it was the wrong thing to do. Even if it doesn't work, it's not the wrong thing to do.
What's funny is I love that about Joe is that, he would say, just because it didn't work doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing. He's right. You know, what do they call that? What do they call it? Recency bias or whatever, outcome bias. But except for one,
it wasn't. What was the word?
It was outcome bias. That's what he used to call it. And there was one time ever in his managerial career in Chicago where he used outcome bias and would not let it go. Do you remember what it was?
I don't.
It was the way he managed the end of the World Series and the way he talked about it afterwards. It was, we won the game. We won the series. And you couldn't get him to talk about the decision making. He admitted one mistake, like when he didn't have
anybody up for Chapman
in game 6, when they had a pretty good sized lead and then they tacked on
right
in the 9th, and he
told me this.
Yeah, and so he had to leave Chapman in to face a batter in the 9th, and I think he walked the guy before he replaced him. So that's that many more pitches and another up and down for him before you get to game 7. Because he wasn't, but there were more than that. I mean, you know, he leaned so hard on him, and then he brings him in so early in game 7, and okay, but then there was the Lester decision, not bringing him in a clean inning, so he wouldn't talk about any of that stuff. We won,
is what he said. Talked about it,
not as far as I know. I mean, Gonzo and I were at the, Mark Gonzalez, who was covering for the Tribune at the time. We were at the winter meetings that year, and you know, the national media throng was all over him when he did his media availability, and we were sitting there in the Cubs front row, there, Cubs writers front row, talking. And Gonzo and I were going back and forth with him on this, and then Gonzo peeled away, and I hit him with another question and another question, and I thought, I'm about to get in an argument with the manager that just won
the World
Series for the Cubs. So I'm going to drop it right now. I'll circle back with him later.
I would love to get him in here the next time he's in town for a golf event and literally just have him sit right there and go, Joe, can we go back and just talk about some of the stuff? I wonder if he'd do it.
He's such a good dude. He might do it.
He's a great dude.
Yeah.
I spent 4 hours in his house talking about game 7.
Come on over.
I mean,
Ryan McGuffey's here.
But what about the end of game 6? How he managed the pen and Chapman in particular.
Sit down. They can't see you. Oh, sorry. Here.
I'm literally pulling up the documentary Rainman right now. Right now.
Did Joe say anything to you about not having somebody up for Chapman in game 6? Did he say anything about bringing Lester in a dirty inning?
Oh my God! I talked about the Lester dirty inning. It was a big part of the documentary.
What did he say?
I sat in Lester's house when Lester told me he flat out was told 3 different things in the bullpen.
Yeah,
it was get up, get down, sit down. You're not coming in. Get back up. All of a sudden, he's like, if I get warm again, I'm too hot and I can't go. I can't do it. And I get the ball. That entire exchange is in the documentary.
What did Madden say about it?
Madden said that sometimes the game, because I said before the game, I was in that press conference when he said, Johnny's only coming in a clean inning. Okay. And I said, well, you had 4 2/3 of Hendricks. And I'm literally trying to.
See, I don't think he's ever said I was wrong.
Joe said to me,
I'm not sure you ever said I was.
Kipnis was the best hitter in that lineup. And I don't think it's him saying this, particularly close. And that's why I went to John as opposed to Kyle Hendricks.
Kyle was dealing. And the thing about Kyle is, you know, his heartbeat is slow right there. For that moment, he's got it under control. Let him go. I mean, I was stunned when they took him out of the game at that point. I was stunned.
I think Lester was too.
And I was even more stunned when it was Lester who came in.
Yeah. Well,
because it would have been one thing to go bring in, you know, one of your hard thrower, strikeout guys or whatever to try to get one batter. And that's not what he did. I mean, at least that to me, that's the second best choice. The best choice is leave Hendricks in.
Here's the thing no one ever talks about with Joe in game 7 specifically. When everyone else in the ballpark and all the people in the press box like us are talking about it's very clear that Chapman had nothing left. Right?
Oh yeah, he was on fumes.
He proves the pitch. I'm standing ready to go on the field when Rajah Davis hits a home run, and I've said on record that I thought it's the only time in my life where I truly thought it sucked to be a Cubs fan. Like that exact moment. A lot of people forget that Aroldis Chapman went back out for the ninth.
Oh yeah.
Miguel Montero gets no credit for how he managed that inning.
They reversed the way he pitched.
They reversed it completely.
Yeah.
He threw a lot of off-speed stuff, and Miggy Montero is as responsible for that win as any player in the field.
They might not.
David Ross said, I called only fastballs because I hadn't caught him, and I did not want to have him get beat with a secondary pitch.
And my other point is, your support staff, when your butthole gets tight, is supposed to be, hey, Joe, we need to get somebody up. Where was your pitching coach? Where was Davey Martinez? Where was your hitting coach? You know where they all are? Sitting on their hands right behind Joe, sweating down their face because they're thinking the exact same thing.
They're thinking,
what the hell is going on? And so Joe Madden, the first time all season when he needs to look right or left, has no one offering an opinion. And no one talks about that. You could call me coddling Joe all you want. Joe Madden won the World Series for the Cubs. They were down 3-1 in that series. That's why I think it's laughable Cleveland celebrates it. It's not just the way they lost Game 7. They lost a 3-1 World Series lead.
You know what? Talking to them, even behind the scenes, they'll tell you they knew they were in trouble. At 3-1, they knew they were in trouble because they had nothing left.
I mean, look at some of the guys, Josh Tomlin.
And it lined up for the Cubs.
And Cap, we've talked about this before. You know, one of the things that Joe had a great sense of was his players. So the Halloween night, right? Go home, go trick-or-treating with your kids. We're going to fly late tonight to Cleveland, or maybe tomorrow morning. I can't remember. But it was just get the hell out of here. Get away from this and go be a dad tonight. That's a guy who understood, you know,
Dude, I'm not ripping the guy. I think he was the right guy at the right team for that team, without a doubt. He got more out of those young guys than any other manager would have.
He deserves to be, like, there's fair criticism even with the win. But my point is, there was nobody like on his shoulder going, hey, Joe, like, where was Boz?
No, you're right.
Like, what was Boz doing? He should have had 3 guys warming up.
Right.
Thank you, Ryan.
I'll find that clip.
There you go. Gordon, before I let you go. So the Cubs, as we're taping, they got Mizorowski against Ben Brown tonight. Got another one with the Brewer tomorrow. And then a day off, and then the Astros are in town for 3.
The Astros are a mess.
A mess.
Yeah.
Like, you got to just take them one game at a time. But your thoughts on where the Chicago Cubs are right now, because some of the peacocks in our fan base, they ain't built for 162, kid. They're not. We are the greatest team ever. We won 10.
You know, I wish I had a mirror right here
3
to show you.
And they're already jumping up. Oh, we won 10 again?
You're separating yourself from that group?
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm built for 162. And and the Chicago Cub fan, many of them, freaking peacocks. Yeah, the colors are
They're
out.
Probably doing stuff like
when they're
drawing up lineups to give to Counsel. They're probably doing stuff like that, right?
That's just me being a good guy.
Oh, yeah. That's not you being a peacock.
But some of these peacocks, it is unbelievable to me that that's how they conduct themselves. Jed's the worst. Ricketts is terrible. Counsel's a moron. The team sucks.
That was you on the last podcast.
No shot.
Dude,
look, I don't overreact.
Here's the thing that would if I'm you, Mr. Peacock, I would be frustrated in the short term right now that they're not doing some of these things like we talked about with some of these scrap heap pitchers.
Why is Lucas Giolito not here?
Like you got to do something.
Him, Guff.
You know, and we talked about Miggy a little bit ago. They scapegoated him the next year. I don't know if you remember that. He said a couple things in the clubhouse. He wasn't the bad teammate they tried to make him out to be, and they whacked him mid-season. They're trying to fire up the boys in the clubhouse. Theo on the conference call explaining that move said there are few times during a season where a front office gets a chance to make a difference on a team in the clubhouse. But this is, this is where you have to step up. It's not the trade deadline yet, and there might be big moves to make out there, and they need to be in on every one of them. But right now, you need to be going out and looking for the Lowers and the Paddocks and the whoever's out there that are going to other teams to see if you can get a start or two out of them.
Agreed.
Or 3 relief appearances that are halfway decent out of them in a matchup situation, and see if you can stretch more out of this pitching staff now while you're going through these rough waters, so that when you do start to get guys back, you're still in a good position. Right now, they're in a good position. But the thing that would frustrate me going forward is if this team doesn't do the things that it could do, and it winds up being something more or less than last year's team, maybe a wild card team, maybe wins a short playoff series and gets bounced, and then you're right back where you started after all the good things they did to set it up going into this year. This team, rightfully so, has generated more excitement and buzz than any Cubs team since 2016.
Well, all I know is Alex Bregman's got to hit better. Ian Happ's got to hit better.
And he will. I'm not worried about the lineup. I'm worried about the pitching staff. The pitching staff is going to define this season. It's already starting to. That's the thing you ought to be worried about. Go out and sign a pitcher for these guys, Cap, if you really want to help.
I got your lineup for you, Craig. Just text me every morning. I'll hook you up on it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Gordon, have a great rest of your day.
You too, Cap.
There he is, the great Gordon Wittenmeyer. I'm David Kaplan. That's a wrap for another edition of our Cubs Recap Podcast, a presentation of our Recap YouTube channel, and available audio only everywhere you get your favorite podcasts. Check your texts, Craig. I got you set up. Have a great rest of your day.
Peacock.
Check us out. Available audio only. Check us out on YouTube. Please hit the subscribe and like button. Take that.